Our next storyteller is Linda DePascale, and she's accustomed to singing with other people. So performing solo is new territory for her, and she's asked that you be nice to her. So please welcome Linda DePascale.
Let's see. Is this about right? Or does it go up? Closer? Okay. Closer. All right. See, this is all new.
Closer.
Even closer.
Even closer.
Ooh. Okay, I got it. I think it's just right now. All right. Picture, if you will, 1970. I have hair down to my bell-bottom hip-hugger blue jeans. I have a leather vest on. It's got fringe down to my knees. There are beads on that fringe. I've got a tambourine in my hand. I'm surrounded by speakers, mountains of speakers on this stage. And I'm getting ready to sing in front of thousands and thousands of people. I'm in a band. I'm a backup singer. The band is called The Leaves of Grass, and we are opening for the Allman Brothers in Piedmont Park. Pretty cool. It didn't start that way. Even though I've been singing since I was a kid. When I was a child, I sang church choirs and the usual stuff, high school, trios, you name it. But I found out early on that I have a really bad voice. In truth, I have a weak voice. I can't sing very loudly, which is why I generally wouldn't do a solo. I certainly wouldn't stand up here normally. I would bury myself in a group of people and sing with others because I have a voice that's like a chameleon. My voice blends with anybody's. It's amazing. I mean, it's such a gift. I don't know where this comes from, but it makes me a really great ensemble singer. And while ensemble singing is what I'm really known for and was my forte, what I really, really wanted to do more than anything in the world was sing like Carly Simon, Linda Ronstadt, and my absolute hero, Joni Mitchell. Didn't we all? All of us singers wanted to be them. Okay, so a friend of mine came to me and said, Linda, I need some help. I'm trying to form a new band, and I need some backup vocals, and I know your voice can go with anybody's. Will you come and help out? So I did. I said, sure, glad to. Went to the rehearsal. Little did I know that this was an audition. Not until after I left the rehearsal room, and Jack, the leader of the band, said, would you like to come and join us? Would you like to be in a rock and roll band? And it took me about 2 seconds to say, yeah, absolutely. Now, the thing about that was, this was 1970, this is the Deep South. My parents had always been really, really supportive about me singing folk music for the local Rotary Club. I did a lot of that. I used to sing, in church and things like that. But singing in a rock and roll band is another thing entirely. This is rock and roll, as in sex and drugs and rock and roll. Wow. I didn't bother to tell my family that I was going to be traveling overnight with a bunch of guys. And that we'd have to go out of town, and I didn't tell them there was a black bass player. I just sort of left some details out. But being the awesome parents that they are, they were really supportive, and they went along with it. And thus began my career as a rock and roll singer. I think people need to understand something about singing in a band. Being in a band is not an easy thing. It's a lot harder than you might think. It certainly was harder than I realized in the beginning. We rehearsed every day from noon till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, really hard, physical hard work, singing. Our band leader, Jack Williams, was a taskmaster. He was a perfectionist, and he wanted every note right. And so he had us do it over and over and over and over again until we got it right. And we did. We generally got it right, which meant that we were a pretty good band. I mean, I think there are not many people that probably are in here that remember the Leaves of Grass, which became Crossover later. But I think we were pretty darn good. We had 8 band members, and we had phenomenal talent in the group. There was Jack Williams, the leader, who was exceptional, and there was Davis Causey, there was Randall Bramlett, there was Ed Dye on the drums, Bennett Johnson on the bass, Bob Jones was another vocalist. Yep, at one point. And we had 2 female backup singers, Joyce Knight and myself. That's right. I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you're saying. And the cool thing was that between the 2 of us, we sort of covered the gamut of what was needed in a vocalist. Joyce was assigned the gritty, nasty Janis Joplin stuff or the Aretha Franklin stuff, because she had this really dark and wonderful, rough voice that could just belt it out. I, on the other hand, was assigned to the Joni Mitchell songs, as in Pave Paradise and Put Up the Parking Lot, the very soft and easy songs. But that was a big thrill. I enjoyed it. It was great. After about a year, we were invited to put some tracks down in a studio down in Macon, Georgia, called Capricorn Studios. And my friend Jim Hawkins here was the engineer down there. And we went down and we worked all day, and our session ended about midnight. And as everybody was packing up to leave and drive back to Athens that night, Jim pulled me aside. I'll forever thank him for this. And said, Linda, if there's any way humanly possible you can stay and delay your drive back, you need to stay. You need to stick around and see the next session, which goes from midnight to dawn. He wouldn't tell me who. I mean, what's a girl going to do? I couldn't stand the suspense. It was just amazing. That challenge just, I said, okay, I'm sticking around, and I just went inside the studio that was empty right then and sat in a corner quietly and waited and waited. And then the door opened. And who should come walking in that door in Macon, Georgia, but James Taylor, followed by Alex Taylor, who was followed by Livingston Taylor. We had the entire Taylor family. James Taylor, the most famous singer-songwriter of the time, and he's still amazing to me. We're all in this one room, only a few feet away from me. I mean, I was just shocked. I mean, it was just like, you know, for a little small-town girl singing backup in a rock and roll band, this was nirvana for sure. So I sat there and I watched them play, and I just enjoyed it thoroughly because they were so versatile. They would jump from guitar to piano to whatever. And the door opened again, and a woman walked in, a very mysterious woman in a long velvet gown, long white hair. And she came over to me and said, "May I sit with you?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And I got a good look at the face. And it was none other than Joni Mitchell. Joni Mitchell herself, my idol. Unbelievable. She sat down beside me. She pulled out some knitting needles. She started knitting. You know, yeah, okay, I like to knit too. So I got my courage up and I said, "Wow, that's really beautiful. What are you making?" And she said, "Well, it's some idea I got flying down here from up north. The colors are just, the earth down below is changing." And it was all very artsy and fabulous. And I'm making a sweater for James. Do you think he'll like it? Yeah, I said, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think he'll like it. She got up, packed her bags, thanked me for the company and the compliments, and went to James and embraced him quietly and whispered. And, oh, by the way, James Taylor was married to Carly Simon at this time. I didn't know that. I found that out later. Oh, no. Before, okay, my history professor over here is getting me straight. But anyway, the point was that being in that studio with those people was amazing. I watched them sing and play the piano and accompany each other and switch off with solos. And James and Joni were just incredible. And I was transfixed all night. The end of the story is this. About a week later or so, approximately, the band broke up. My band flew apart due to artistic differences that were not mine. But that's what it is, and there's not much room for a backup singer in Athens, Georgia after something like that. And I kept singing, and I still sing to this day with church choirs and so forth. But I would not trade those few hours in that studio watching those people work and watching true greatness in terms of musical performance for all the fame in the world. Thank you.